Meanwhile, the United Nations recently released a report accusing 7 countries in Africa of crimes against humanity in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And joining us in the studio now is VOA's Paul Ndiho to tell us more about these the findings of this report. Hi, Paul.
Thanks, Sandy Miyake. The United Nations High Commission for Human Rights last week released a 550-page report listing over 600 serious human rights violations committed in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, DRC. In the late 90s, I was embedded with Ugandan and Rwandan troops and recorded killings in eastern Congo. I would like to warn you that some of the video you're about to see is graphic, and so viewer discretion is advised. After reviewing more than 1,200 witnesses, analyzing more than 1,500 documents over 2 years, the United Nations released a report last Friday detailing massive human rights violations in the Democratic Republic of Congo between 1993 and 2003. The report says tens of thousands of people were killed and many others were raped and victimized during the decade of war.
The mapping of the events that occurred during that 10-year period are significant because the consequences are still evident today. Because these crimes have never been addressed, justice has not been delivered, there has been impunity and lawlessness. So very many rebel groups have cropped up who continue to take the law into their own hands.
7 African countries are named in the report, but Rwanda and Uganda are singled out for the mass killings, rapes and possible genocide of Hutus as they allegedly pursued them into the Congo. Rwanda reacted angrily to the report and says they reserve the right to review the relationship with the UN. Rwanda's Foreign Affairs Minister.
In fact, the eventual pullout of our troops would not be the only thing we would do if Rwanda was ever to find in this report that there are accusations of deliberate killings by the same troops that are keeping peace all over the world. We intend to take further action. Impetus
for the report came after UN peacekeepers in the DRC discovered 3 mass graves in the country's northern Kivu province in 2005. The report also examines options for truth and reconciliation and for bringing those responsible to justice. Jonathan Elliott is Africa Advocacy Director for Human Rights Watch.
It's great evidence that impunity actually creates more violence. And if you look at sexual violence, for example, it's a major problem now in Eastern Congo and probably worse now than ever. It's started way back in the 1990s, and if it actually had been taken in the 1990s to prosecute those responsible for sexual violence, perhaps the next generation or the next commander might have thought twice about committing those crimes.
From 1998 to 2001, I was embedded with Ugandan and Rwandan forces in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. Nothing prepared me for the violence I witnessed there in 2000 and 2001. One morning, I was caught in the middle of the Lendu militia attacks against the Hema in Nyekunde, south of Bunia. The village is mentioned in the UN report. Thousands of people were killed. What started as a land dispute between 2 normally peaceful groups grew into a larger clash when foreign forces entered the region. Some forces sided with the Hema, causing a backlash from the Lendu. A cloud of heavy smoke covered Nyekunde village as bodies were burned. The Lendu militia also invaded Nyekunde hospital where hundreds of people were hiding and cut them into pieces. I saw several mass graves and the Hema armed with bow and arrows ready to defend their village. And this is just one story from the Congo.
Now this report mainly focuses on crimes committed by the Rwandans and Ugandans in the late 90s.
The United Nations tried to investigate violence against refugees in Congo in 1997 and 1998, but these investigations were repeatedly blocked by the Congolese government, then headed by Laurent Desire Kabila, father of the current president Joseph Kabila. Still, information about the massacres and rapes was published at the time by the UN and other organizations, though no judicial actions were taken.
Ask you just briefly, well, thank you so much for sharing that story, obviously very personal to you. How did you become or have that kind of access through the Ugandan and the Rwandan troops at the time?
Well, at the time I was, in January 2000, I was embedded with Ugandan troops in that region of Eastern Congo. And I happened to have spent a night at one of the chief's place called Chief Chiwewa in a small village called Nyekunde. And that's where the massacres occurred. Overnight, we had screams of babies, women and children, people running around. So in the morning at dawn, I woke up and decided to follow the crowd. And what I found was appalling. The images you just saw were some of the things that I recorded. And I took a great personal risk actually to do that, because if anybody had identified me as trying to record, maybe I would have been the next victim.
And wow, what you saw, obviously a lot. Now, obviously all the countries that have been named by the UN, including Uganda and Rwanda, are refuting these allegations. What does the UN recommend should be done to them?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, let me qualify this. These are preliminary findings. I think what needs to happen right now is the UN Security Council has to set up an international tribunal for, let's say, Congo, like they did for former Yugoslavia, Sierra Leone, or Rwanda. So I think right now, once that is done, all these charges can be brought, and tried before a competent court.
Well, thank you so much, Paul. You really kind of brought that to life for us.
A pleasure talking to you, Ndimiake.
Thank you.